Hello and welcome back everyone to a new episode of Loremaster Leveling. We are here in Stranglethorn trying to do the quest here and uncover as much of the lore as we can. And as always, my name is Sneaky Bard. So today's topic for the lore, while we go and turn in some quests here, is specifically the Zandalari trolls. So in the last episode and the one where we finally got off the Goblin starter area, I talked you through some of the basic troll origin lore, and now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on one of the troll races in particular. You already know that we have our jungle, desert, ice, forest trolls, but we also have the Zandalari trolls, which are neither. So if we turn in this quest here, the Murloc menace, and now we need to go and kill some trolls.
To victory.
And here we have the
Blood and thunder.
raptor. Oh, we gained evasion, nice. So what the lore basically says is that, as I told you, the night elves and trolls
Victory lies ahead.
from a single race, and then at some point they split off,
You come get the food.
and one of those branches was the troll branch and the other the night elf branch, and the troll branch are the Zandalari. So every other troll race comes from the Zandalari trolls. You can view them as progenitors of sorts. Oh yeah, we have Hallows End going on here. Yay, one of my favorite festivals. Let's go and take the candy bucket for some XP. So yeah, the Zandalari are the progenitor race of all the trolls. Every other troll comes from them. And they were not very warrior-like to begin with. So they're more priests and scholars. And part of them weren't like that. They wanted to conquer more land, and these were mainly the Gurubashi and the Amani, who, as you know, founded their own empires to begin with. So they sailed off from the homelands of the Zandala to found their own empires, and left behind all the scholars and mystics and not very warrior-like trolls. So then what happened was the Zandalar said, okay fine, you're going to form your own empires, that's great, but it's not so great that you start fighting with each other all the time. So what we will do instead is we will be negotiators. So where the individual troll empires always sought to further their own interest, the Zandalari were there as mediators and negotiators because they
target something first.
wanted to advance troll knowledge and record troll history. Oh, here's a raptor. Let's take his quest. So what we had was then when the trolls had disputes that couldn't be solved, they would gather with the Zandalari and resolve them. Granted, trolls are very warlike people, so they wouldn't do this very often. But from this mediating position that the Zandalari had, you got this tradition of the Zandalari King Rastakhan. Yes, Blizzard, we all see what you did there. Of the Zandalari calling all the troll races to come and to the Zandalari homeland and have a meeting every 6 years. Yes, every 5 years. There's no 5-year plan for the trolls, but they have a 6-year plan. And settle any disputes and agree on a course that benefits the troll empire as a whole, and not just say the Gurubashi or the Drakari or the Amani or the Zulfarak trolls. Are they Faraki? I need to check up on that. I doubt that they're the Faraki, but they might be the Faraki. We need more scalps here. So yeah, that's what the Zandalari basically did. But then what happened was when the Gurubashi Empire started to become super powerful, because they had a group among them who worshipped the blood god Haka. And in the last episode, I think it was, I incorrectly told you that this group was the Zandalari. And that's primarily because before the Zandalari actually started to oppose Haka, they were quite enamored with the Gurubashi managing to conquer so much land here in the south in Stranglethorn, and they didn't mind Haka being the source of all of that much actually, and some of them quite liked him for that. But then they went on and started to dig a bit more into the ancient scrolls and figured out that Haka has a byname, the Soul Flayer. And what Haka does is he gives his warriors or his believers basically imbued strength if they sacrifice blood offerings to him. And the more blood Haka gets sacrificed, the stronger he grows, and the more closer his connection to the world where he gets these sacrifices from, in our case Azeroth, becomes, and he can manifest fully on that world. And now the Zandalari became quite alarmed and ventured forth from their island homeland to northern Stranglethorn to this is not here. Jojamba Isle, which is in Stranglethorn here. I just don't know by heart from where on the map it is. And what they then did was they alerted as many of the other trolls as they could of Haka's or the impending doom that came with worshipping Haka. And at this point, the Gurubashi Empire was already going through some civil unrest due to Haka demanding ever more sacrifices to be made in his name, and people just getting slaughtered left and right to appease him. So many of the other jungle troll tribes that weren't as powerful as the Gurubashi, but like as we had here, we were killing, what was the name of this tribe? Skull Splitter? Something like that. Dogspear tribe would be one of those other smaller tribes as well. They banded together with the Zandalari and overthrew the priest case, the Atalaya, who are fanatically devoted to Haka, and it is these priests, for instance, that we see in the Sunken Temple as well. But yeah, so hopefully what you then now notice is that the Zandalari are quite, shall we say, they're neutral but opportunistic in a sense where all they care about is the fact that trolls should rule as much of the Azeroth as possible, and they seek to advance the troll cause as a race, or the troll as a race, and think of trolls as a
our
race
enemies will fall
rather than as a collection of tribes. So you could say they're troll supremacists. So as long as as long as there was no danger coming from Haka, they were completely fine with having Haka around and advancing the troll cause. This is also what happened in terms of their relationship to some other, shall we say, not so savory entities in WoW lore. So the Haka, not the Haka, sorry, the Zandalari were one of the few nations or political organizations, however you want to call it, to have contact with the Mogu, and they formed an alliance with them, even trying to suppress the Pandaren revolt, all in with the idea of getting more knowledge that could further the troll cause. And even after the cataclysm, what happened was the Zandalari suddenly, from being neutral trolls, that sought to, that even like the players interacted with. So when the Gurubashi tried to reanimate, redraw Hakar out into the world in vanilla, the Zandalari were the ones who were giving us the quest and saying like, oh, you've got to stop these guys. We already did it once, but now we don't have enough trolls to band together, so you need to come and stop us. Happened again in Cataclysm, that we had to go and stop the Zandalari, stop the Hakar from being drawn out into the world. But what happened during the Cataclysm event specifically there was that the Zandalari, as troll supremacists, had seen that a lot of these troll empires that used to be had collapsed. So Zul'Farrak was no more, the Jewel of Tanaris was gone. The Drakari Empire in the north was overrun by the Scourge, with a little bit help from us, the player, and Gurubashi had fallen in vanilla. So they tasked, and Amani Zul'Jin had been killed by us, the player, during the Burning Crusade. So they were there like, oops, no more trolls, troll culture, troll race, everything not so good anymore. So they tasked Jindo the Godbreaker with reforging Amani and Gurubashi, the two empires that used to be of forest and jungle trolls, into one empire, and that didn't end up going so well, so we had to go and clean up their mess. But yeah, that is a bit about the background of the Zandalari here, of them being the scribes and record keepers of the trolls. But not only that, also being, in my opinion, this is the only way of explaining how they could go from come on everyone, save us from Hakar, to let's reform the troll empires. It's the only explanation. Sorry, I'm rambling, but the only explanation to that sort of switch from being neutral and only concerned with law and preserving history to becoming actually expansionist is that the only thing they actually care about is the troll race, and what they actually are is troll supremacists. So as long as the troll empire is doing fine, they're fine with asking other people for help for dealing with some mess that one troll tribe or another got into that might end the world, because hey, if there's no world, there's no troll empire to build it on. But if other people start subjugating trolls to quickly or make sure that all these troll empires fall, then they will also turn on the former allies. In this case, this would be something like us, for instance. Alright. Now, a brief lore intermezzo here, as we are fighting against ogres that look strangely small.
Something first.
We haven't encountered ogres before, so we might as well do a brief rundown of the ogre lore. So, ogres, because there's not that much more to say about the Zandalari at the moment, basically. So, here we have ogres. And what we have here are specifically one type of ogre, the one-handed ogre. One-headed ogre.
It's too far away.
There are two types of ogres. Your regular, not the smartest type ogre, which is one-headed. And your very smart and cunning ogre, or also known as the ogre magi, which is two-headed. And ogres used to have the distinction between one and two-headed ogres ever since they existed as a race, but the two-headed ogres were the rarity, like extremely, extremely rare. And most of them were thus, by in deduction, one-headed. And they were one of the last remnants of Draenor's giants, so Draenor being the planet where the orcs are from. And what happened there was they got enslaved by the Gron. The Gron are your demigod-like beings. If you've ever been to Gruul's lair, the raid, Gruul is a Gron, or is he seen as the father of all Gron, something like that. there's that old world quest, PC Nagrand, which has you kill Dern the Hungerer, also a Gron. So the Gron enslaved the ogres
For the Horde.
for workforce, basically. And then when the Horde united,
Victory.
we leveled again. They offered the ogres to join them, and some of them obviously did, because they were like, hey, if you can give us freedom, then yeah, give us freedom. And the ones that didn't got enslaved and brutally killed by the Horde. But what happened in the Horde was the ogres kind of had a from the fire into the frying pan type situation, where Gul'dan and the Shadow Council, who were really in charge of the Horde, only wanted the ogres for the brute strength and to run experiments on them. So one of these experiments that Gul'dan ran on the ogres was with one of the stolen spellstones from Quel'Thalas, with which he created Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall being the first ogre magi, would you say synthetically? Well, a not naturally created two-headed ogre magi. And that's where all the other ogre magi basically that roam Azeroth come from, because Azeroth didn't used to have its own ogres. They all came with the Orc invasion, and with Cho'Gall basically being a success for Gul'dan in producing these super smart magic wielding ogres, primarily to replace the Necrolites and Warlocks that fell in battle against the Alliance. He started producing more of them, and that is why we essentially have so many ogres, and especially so many ogre magi's in Azeroth. It would be interesting to compare if we have that many ogre magi's in Draenor, since Draenor should technically lore-wise have a far more homogeneous population of ogres, where there's almost no ogre magi running around. But I doubt Blizzard was thinking of that when they designed the actual quest zones there. I mean, it would also be quite monotone and bland to only fight against ogre fighters and the very occasional ogre magi. But yeah, lore-wise, ogre magi, mainly in Azeroth, due to Gul'dan actually artificially, that was the word I was looking for, creating them with Cho'Gall, the leader of the Twilight Hammer, being obviously the first one. Alright, let's kill some more trolls here. And here where you can see these guys, even though they have to go back to troll lore, even though they have a bit more bluish tint to them, we can actually see that these guys are jungle trolls, because they're not as tall as the Gurubashi. As the Zandalari. Sorry, meant to say Zandalari. Because the Zandalari, with the exception of the...
That's it for this week, folks. Fishing contest over.
Okay. Weird announcement there. But yeah, the Zandalari, with the exception of the Gurubashi, are the tallest orc troll race.
That's it for this week, folks. Fishing contest
What's
over.
going on with Wriggle Bassbait? He's keeping on interrupting me. I know that the fishing contest is over. Anyway, so here, when we see Zandalari, we can actually see that their models are not as small as these ones. We shouldn't be talking. We're a goblin, we're one of the tiniest races. They're all tall compared to us. Ow, I died. How did that happen? Need to pay more attention. Got very excited talking about troll physique, apparently. So yeah. And also skin color wise, those trolls we were fighting, the Blood Sculpt, did have a very Zandalarish skin to them, but generally, especially the ones on Pandaria, are much more greyish in tone. and the ones you encounter in Azeroth tend to have a light blue turquoise type taint, but not as close to green as the jungle trolls have. Anyway, let's go and resurrect at our corpse and then call it an episode, and in the next episode we will go to the next troll race that we can talk about in more detail, namely the Gurubashi. So that would be the idea here. Since we will encounter both Zandalari and Gurubashi in Stranglethorn, I can give you a bit more in detail lore about both of these races. And all these ruins that we obviously see around here are Gurubashi ruins, or rather the Bloodscalp tribe inhabits them, but these are distinctly Gurubashi in nature, or in possession in nature. They look very much the same as all other troll ruins, but since the Bloodscalp are allied to the Gurubashi, or kind of a sub-tribe, a tributary tribe of the Gurubashi, these are Gurubashi ruins by extension. Anyway, I will see you in the next episode. Once again, my name's been Sneaky Bard, and you've been absolutely lovely. Don't forget to like the episode if you like it, and to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.